Breaking news! Something is brewing in Miami, and it's not just the heat, it's the tension, the pressure, and the silent storm behind closed doors. There's a fire growing within this organization, and if you've been paying attention, you can already feel it. Because while the national media continues to sell the Super Bowl dream, the truth inside the Dolphins team is much more complicated. Some of these changes, they raise suspicions. Some of these injuries, they raise alarm bells. And the man behind most of it, Chris Grier, still hasn't packed his bags. Why? That's the million-dollar question. Grier should be gone, but no, he's still in charge, and that's putting everything at risk. I have so much to share with you, and you'll want to hear every second. But before I tell you everything, hit the like button if you've been bleeding teal and orange for over 20 years. Leave a comment saying, "Go, Dolphins! My heart bleeds teal and orange." Let's see who the real fans are. Now, let me tell you what's really going on inside Dolphins camp. Alright, let's get straight to it. Things are tense in Miami as we dive into the aftermath of the joint practice against the Washington Commanders. The defense, which has been under pressure to hold the line without Xavier Howard and with Jalen Ramsey being managed carefully, came out swinging. Kader Kohou took first-team reps alongside Kendall Fuller and Javon Holland. The aggressive press-man coverage was on full display, and while the defensive unit showed flashes of dominance, it was far from a perfect outing. The Commanders found ways to exploit the seams, and the lack of physicality from some of our DBs was noticeable. Now, let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. He's having a roller coaster of a training camp. On day 12, he connected beautifully with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, delivering some impressive deep throws. But day 13 was a different story. Tua threw 2 interceptions and struggled with decision-making under pressure. He bounced back a bit in the red zone, but inconsistency is still a problem. That's something fans have been worried about for a while. When Tua is on, he's electric, but when the pressure ramps up, he sometimes fades. Can we trust him in a deep playoff run? And speaking of trust, let's talk about the offensive line. There's a storm brewing here, and it's no small issue. Terron Armstead continues to be managed carefully, and while Isaiah Wynn has shown flashes, injuries are once again haunting this group. Aaron Brewer and Liam Eichenberg both have had issues in pass protection, and that's being kind. Kendall Lamb has been one of the most consistent linemen in camp, which says a lot about the rest of the unit. It's baffling that this front office continues to roll the dice with this O-line. This team wants a Lombardi, but with this protection unit, it's hard to imagine a clean pocket for Tua when it matters most. Now let's talk running backs. Jalen Wright has been turning heads with his explosive bursts and quick cuts. He might just force the Dolphins' hand when it comes to roster decisions. Devon Achane looks faster and stronger, and Raheem Mostert has looked solid, but durability is always a question with him. There's a real chance Wright pushes someone out of a job if he keeps showing up like this. And then there's Malik Washington. This guy has been cooking in practice. He's finding ways to get open and making tough catches. If Miami had a true WR3 problem, Malik might just be the solution. The kid is hungry, and he's earning reps, but will Grier and McDaniel have the guts to give him real snaps when the season begins? Defensively, we've seen some solid things from the pass rush, but interior pressure still seems weak without Christian Wilkins. Zach Sealer and Deshaun Hand have flashed, but consistency isn't there. Jaylon Phillips is still working his way back, and Bradley Chubb hasn't been unleashed yet. There's potential, but it's bottled up right now. The question is, when will it explode? Oh, and about the kicking situation, Jason Sanders continues to be erratic. That's a problem. He missed a 50-yarder and another mid-range attempt during joint practices. In close games, this will matter. Has Grier even thought about bringing in real competition? Or is he just rolling the dice again like he did with the O-line? And let's not ignore the elephant in the room, the injuries. The Dolphins are managing reps for key veterans like Ramsey, Armstead, and Phillips, but how long can this balancing act last? Depth is a major concern, especially in the trenches. 1 or 2 more injuries, and we're talking crisis mode. And now let's keep diving, because the intensity is only going up. The Dolphins officially locked in veteran pass rusher Matthew Judon, and this is one of those low-risk, high-upside moves that might just pay off, if used the right way. The 33-year-old linebacker signed a 1-year deal worth up to $3 million, and while some critics are pointing to his sack decline from 15.5 to just 5.5 last year, the real story lies in how he was utilized. Judon claims he was dropping into coverage way more than he should have been in Atlanta. Pro Football Focus backs that up partially. He dropped into coverage 87 times compared to rushing 382, which is still far more coverage snaps than he's used to. Bottom line, the Dolphins didn't sign him to drop into coverage. They want him to hunt quarterbacks. Anthony Weaver seems excited about Judon's potential impact, highlighting that with a young secondary, creating pressure is key. He brought up comparisons to the 2012 Giants with their dominant pass rush. That's a bold comparison, but the plan is clear. Stack the edge with talent, rotating guys like Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Juden, and then create matchup nightmares alongside Zach Sealer and Cam Good inside. It's a smart formula, but only if the bodies stay healthy, and that's still a big if. While the edge group is shaping up, the secondary still feels light. Rumors flew that Asante Samuel Jr. was visiting the facility, but those were shut down quickly by Barry Jackson. Still, the fact that Miami's even exploring that route tells you everything. They know they're not done building this roster. Don't be surprised if after final cuts on the 26th, Greer tries to bring in another corner. It might even wait until after the final preseason game against Jacksonville, once they get one last look at their depth. And speaking of final cuts, we got some clarity at the punter position. Jake Bailey has officially beaten out Ryan Stonehouse. That competition didn't last long. Bailey averaged 56 yards per punt with a 53-yard net and dropped 2 inside the 20. Stonehouse simply couldn't match that. Bailey will be back for his third straight season, and his chemistry with Jason Sanders as a holder was probably the deciding factor. But fans still aren't thrilled with the overall special teams situation, especially when field goals could decide tight games. Sanders can't afford more inconsistency. Now, let's talk about the injury bug, because it's biting hard. Devon Achane didn't practice and likely won't participate in the final joint practices with the Jaguars. His calf strain is being monitored closely, and the team clearly doesn't want to rush him back. That's the right call, because if you push a calf strain too soon, it could snowball into a long-term problem. But his absence is creating serious tension in the running back room. With Alexander Mattison out for the year due to a neck injury, there's a gap in that four-man rotation. That's where things get interesting. There's growing buzz around a potential trade for Brian Robinson Jr. from Washington. He's not a game breaker, but he's a big back, and the Dolphins need size in that backfield. The question is what you give up, ideally no more than a fifth-round pick, considering his injury history and contract status. Still, if he's available, that's a move Miami might need to pull the trigger on, especially if they want to avoid putting too much on Jalen Wright's plate early. And about the tight end position, Darren Waller remains on the physically unable to perform list. He hasn't been activated yet, but Coach McDaniel says he could return this week. Waller's agent claims he'll be ready for week 1, but that's not something you take to the bank just yet. After a year off, getting him back to game shape isn't something that happens overnight. If he's not ready by early September, that's a big hit to the offense's vertical flexibility. Jalen Phillips did return to practice after missing the last week, which is a good sign for the pass rush. But with Alec Ingold and Mohamed Kamara in the concussion protocol, plus others in red non-contact jerseys, it's a reminder that this team is still walking a fine line between readiness and disaster. Another storyline to keep an eye on, the Colts will be starting Daniel Jones in week 1 instead of Anthony Richardson. That might seem like good news for Miami, since Richardson's mobility is terrifying for a defense that struggles against mobile QBs. But don't sleep on Jones. He's still capable of hurting a defense, especially if Miami's pass rush doesn't show up fast. The key will be the offense scoring early and letting the defense attack from a position of strength. Otherwise, it could become a grind. Finally, keep your eyes on the roster cut deadline. The Dolphins will trim down to 53 by Tuesday the 26th. That means the depth chart battles we've been watching at wide receiver, corner, linebacker, even running back are about to come to a head. Mike McDaniel and his staff will have tough decisions, but if they want to compete for the Super Bowl, there's no room for nostalgia or soft spots. Perform or get cut. So Dolphins fans, with all the drama around injuries, potential trades, Juden's